Well, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari alongside Cyril Abaku. We are a few minutes behind schedule, but it's that we didn't want to interrupt the ongoing funeral of Flying Officer Arotile, Nigeria's first female combat pilot, the young lady that died in a most unfortunate accident, not work-related. So the Nigeria Air Force, the family, indeed Nigerians are mourning the loss. We'll be nipping in and out of the proceedings over there, but coming back to our program now and continuing, let's start off with the horrible news of 5 aid workers killed by Boko Haram. Cyril, that's a gut-wrenching one.
It won't be the first time.
It wouldn't, unfortunately.
These ones were kidnapped last month, and the terrorists, defied all entreaties to secure their release. The sad thing is that aid workers are not combatants. They are not parties to the conflict. They are simply there to assist millions of displaced persons, people who are in need of urgent assistance, medical assistance, supplies, and so on.
Yeah, and these conventions are generally, respected by parties to strive.
No, they should be in proper warfare. But what we're facing in Nigeria is asymmetrical, and then,
so it doesn't qualify really as warfare.
So even when one party feels they need to obey laws, this other side of the warfare does not obey any rules, and so anybody is fair game for them. The statement that was issued by the head of the humanitarian assistance mission to Nigeria was very clear. He said one of the bottlenecks they have faced, one of the challenges they've had, is with regard to the fact that there are too many checkpoints, particularly between that street between Monguno and Maiduguri. A lot of checkpoints that are not even manned or put in place by the army or by any other state-led security agency. And so you find that even within the security architecture in the Northeast, there are several loopholes that make this sort of kidnappings and gruesome killings rampant and rife. The fact is that the videos that we are seeing, what we even heard yesterday was the part that could pass for decency.
Yes,
but we could all see that in the longer versions of that same video, they lined up these people, made them to kneel down, while the executioner stood behind them, pointing the guns to them, and then they killed them. So how do you?
But in the meantime, I understand we want to cut back, as we were saying we would earlier, to Lulokwe Arotile's funeral.
We make this prayer through Jesus Christ, our Lord.
Amen.
Yes, sir. The guest of honor, sir, distinguished invited guests, please, we may be seated. Thank you. The guest of honor, sir, distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the reading of the citation of the late Flying Officer Tolulope Arotile. I shall now invite her classmate, Flying Officer J.A. Chukwu, to read the citation of the late officer. Flying Officer J.A. Chukwu.
The guest of honor, sir, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to rest on already established protocol. I am Flying Officer J.A. Chukwu, and I shall be reading the citation of my late classmate and friend, Flying Officer Tolulope Oluwatoyin Sarah Arotile. Flying Officer Tolulope Oluwatoyin Sarah Arotile was born on the 13th of December 1995, to the family of Mr. and Mrs. Akintunde Arotile in Kaduna. Flying Officer Tolulope Oluwatoyin Sarah Arotile hailed from Ijumu local government area of Kogi State. She attended Air Force Primary School, Kaduna, from year 2000 to year 2005, and Air Force Secondary School, Kaduna, from year 2006 to year 2011. She was enlisted into the Nigerian Defense Academy, Kaduna, as a member of 64th Regular Course on the 22nd of September 2012. She was commissioned into the Nigerian Air Force as a pilot officer on the 16th of September 2017. Flying Officer Arotile held a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics from the Nigerian Defense Academy. She was winged as the first ever female combat helicopter pilot in the Nigerian Air Force on the 15th of October 2019, after completing her flying training in South Africa. She had logged about 400 flying hours. She held a commercial pilot license and also underwent tactical flying training on the Augusto 109 power attack helicopter in Italy. She introduced the newly acquired Augusto 109 power attack helicopter to the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria, during the induction ceremony at Eagle Square in Abuja on the 6th of February 2020. Tragically, Flying Officer Arotile died on the 14th of July 2020 at the age of 24. Until her death, she was single and her hobbies were praying, reading, and listening to music. May her gentle soul rest in peace.
Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, having listened to the citation of the late young officer,
Okay, and as I said, we shall be nipping in and out of that the proceedings underway for the most tragic sort of funeral for Nigeria's first female fighter pilot going on there, Flying Officer Tolulope Arotile. Now, back to the other trauma on the nation, talking about 5 aid workers executed, by Boko Haram. And we have the chairperson of the Khartoum Foundation for Peace, Umo Khartoum Mohammed Rabiu, who is joining us by Skype to comment on the affair. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Rabiu. Actually, I understand. My apologies. It's a lady. Umu Khartoum Mohammed Rabiu is a lady. Good morning, ma'am. Oh, it's going to be one of those days, huh? We shall, as soon as we can reconnect. So there we were going, the outrage of it. I don't know. Things are just going on in Africa because Nigeria is part of Africa. And in a different sort of a context, the president, we will come to that perhaps next, is on a peace mission to Mali, as you know. But right now, we're on this story. And this is part of, this story is also linked, can be linked to the agitation and frustration of the Nigerian people at the pace of the decimation of Boko Haram. If, as you were saying, they were kidnapped about a month ago, and then we couldn't do anything, sort of, so to speak, for about the month, and then they now brazenly, in this form, it's like thumbing their nose at us almost. And this is the part that is frustrating, and this is the part that is putting pressure, that makes the people, as it were, put pressure on the presidency, really, that shouldn't we be changing our leaders in this whole campaign that the National Assembly voiced, and that the president has said that for now it's not your prerogative, it's mine.
What's happening today is simply a case of presidential grandstanding, which flies in the face of extant laws of our federation. But this is the president's wisdom, and so, as it were, we live with it. But the reality is that when the president decides to stick with a losing team, and these losses happen, should we really be surprised? It was like what I said about the NDDC hearing. These things are not new.
But you probably agree with me.
The results we are getting.
You probably agree with me that the presidency itself might take slight exception at the expression losing team, because they are insisting, but you did say it's grandstanding, they're insisting that it's our prerogative, not yours, out there, you the people. Even though we've also made the point that how can a person lead if he's not going to listen to the followers?
Mr. President is Commander-in-Chief. The law regarding the appointment and retention of service chiefs, I think, states that, the amendment, I think, says you cannot renew an amendment beyond once. And how many times have we renewed the amendment, the terms of the current service chiefs?
Yes.
We've seen all kinds of strategies. The other day, the Army Chief said he was going to relocate to Maiduguri, and that until the war was won, he wasn't going to come back. The results we are getting only goes to show that this thing is deteriorating. It may not enter. You see, there is one thing about leadership.
The crisis is deteriorating.
No, but of course it is. I mean, it is clear for the blind to see and for the deaf to hear.
Well, okay, let's come back to it because we've been able to make contact with Umu Kaltum Muhammad Rabiu, CEO and chairperson of the Kaltum Foundation for Peace. Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us, ma'am.
Oh, good morning.
All right then. So now, your comments on the news that indeed we did lose. That is, the world lost 5 aid workers by Boko Haram.
Yeah.
Your observations, your comments.
Okay, well, it's a sad listen. What happened is very sad, It's not something that is, because it's shocking. It even shocked me. So, hello?
Please continue. Yes, you're with us.
So, there are some roles that I think government could play in order to see that we get changes.
Okay.
Yes. Like, firstly, like the Office of the National Security Advisor and the state government must initiate back to a channel to dialogue and negotiate for peace. But for the military, they must continue with their bombardment.
Okay.
And secondly, seriously, we are not making progress in the non-kinetic approach to counterinsurgency. And this can only happen if the government begins to support young people, especially women, who have interest in counterinsurgency, conflict management, and peace building.
Is it your view that there are indeed quite a number of such that are not being tapped, as it were?
Okay.
Okay. Are you saying that government is not taking advantage of some of the assets it has in this direction? You talked about women. Are there quite many of them? Because you seem to make the point that government is not, taking advantage of young women generally that are interested in the subject matter of counterinsurgency, if I understood you rightly.
Yes, that's right. Even if the government is doing that, it has to do it. It should be more than it is.
Okay. We just thought that we'd touch base with you to, sort of you know, because you have a peace, a foundation for peace. And so what does the Khartoum Foundation for Peace stand for?
Well, the Khartoum Foundation for Peace is a non-governmental and non-political organization which is based in the Maiduguri, northeastern part of Nigeria, and into peace building, conflict management, and also sexual and gender-based violence, GBV, that is gender-based violence, and also it's into girl child education.
Okay.
And yes, it's also into mediation. That is under the conflict management. Then the mediation come into under that.
And you just mentioned girl child education there, and as you are aware, right now the funeral is actually going on for Flying Officer Arotile, and there's a sense in which the memory still is a Nigerian asset. So that's probably the kind of place you were saying that women have the potential to be in the scheme of things.
That's right.
Do you have anything to say? Her funeral is going on right now.
Is that?
I said her funeral is actually ongoing. Did you have anything to say about Flying Officer Temitope Arotile, whose funeral is going on right now?
Well, I have nothing to say on that.
I see. But it's a dreadful business. The whole matter of the aid workers, the 5 aid workers that were killed by Boko Haram. It seems to me that the main point you've made is that maybe government should engage more with people who are mediators. Oh yes, of course.
Because it would be the way out. I think it would be the way out.
It would be. I want to thank you very much. Thank you very, very much for your time, for making time to speak with us. Speaking with Umu Khartoum Mohammed Rabiu, the CEO and spokesperson of the Khartoum Foundation for Peace. But continuing on that subject for the matter, and we can actually open the phones so that maybe viewers can also call in on that particular subject. It's a dual, painful one. On the one hand, that, and then going on right now is a fighter pilot. You know, a fighter pilot any day is a valuable asset to any nation. And then this one is a special one in the sense that she is female. And she didn't become a fighting pilot because she was female. Oh no, she became one because she was capable. Now that speaks volumes to our situation in Nigeria. Apparently, hopefully you can't take corruption to that kind of a place. You know, we've been saying that one of the biggest definitions of corruption is people being in places they shouldn't, that they don't have the merit for. But in the case of this young lady, Flying Officer Temitope Arotile, she merited it.
I was going to add that if you looked at the way we've prosecuted,
because you can't make fighter pilots by long legs.
No, sure, of course. If you look at the way we've even prosecuted the war on Boko Haram in the past 5-6 years or so, you would agree with me that Nigeria on its own may not have all everything it would require to deal with the humanitarian angle of things, deal with the martial, the actual warfare itself, deal with all the ramifications of what is going on. Now, we have people, we even saw when monies were released for people to go and feed people in IDP camps, and they turned it down, and they said they are using some millions of naira to cut grass in those camps. So it shows that we have loopholes here and there. Now, when in every conflict situation around the world, when international humanitarian aid comes in, when people come in like that, they come to help what is already on the ground and look at critical ways where they can assist local populations in areas where their local governments may not be able to provide critical aid. And so the killing of these aid workers, we need to understand that there is a message the terrorists are sending to us, which is to say that ideally, aid workers, particularly international aid workers, are often respected are often looked at as people who are, they are
non-aligned,
non-aligned,
neutral.
They can be,
they're helping humanity.
But when these animals turn their guns on them, it only goes to, I mean, was it last month or 2 months ago? We even had news that we are about to suspend the activities because Boko Haram had attacked them. If they successfully force them out of the northeast, the situation is going to be even more serious. So we need to understand what is really going on and to look at the holes we must be plugging. It is not fun to have these people being killed. It is not at all.
Okay.
I say that again.
Emmanuel in Otukpo, good morning. Good morning, sir. Very quickly, please. Yes.
Good morning to you, sir.
Very quickly before we go to break.
Okay, this Boko Haram issue is what I want to contribute
to. Sure.
You see, we are allowing this thing to fester for too long, and that is why it has developed branches. We have the herdsmen, we have the bandits, we have the kidnappers. We are joking and playing politics with everything. Why can't we change the service chief? Why can't we end this war? Are we telling the world that Nigerian army is not good enough to defeat a ragtag army like Boko Haram? I still maintain that they are a ragtag army. And they are giving us room to believe the conspiracy of hidden agenda that the people are talking about.
Okay, so Manuel, sorry. Because I told you we have to go to break. Thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you. God bless Nigeria.
Right there. So stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, cutting back to the funeral of Nigeria's first female fighter pilot, Tolulokpe, I beg your pardon, Temitope Arotile's funeral, which is in Abuja now. It looks like there's a moment of silence there. You see the brass there at attention.
May the soul of late Flying Officer Tolulokpe Arotile rest in perfect peace. You may please be seated. Next on the program is...
Okay, we'll be in and out as we said. And all right, the president is off to Mali, right? And the reason, of course, is that well, Nigeria is in Africa, and it's an AU project, right?
ECOWAS.
I beg your pardon. ECOWAS. That's different. It's not all of Africa that's involved in ECOWAS. Yeah, thank you very much for that correction. And yeah, so give me the situation there. There are people who will say that we have our hands full here. There's so much going on here. The president hasn't come in on it. So how come the president has found time in his schedule to go over to this one? We were discussing this before going off air, that if anybody had that kind of an impression, there's probably a way to set it right.
Which is to say that there is no ECOWAS without Nigeria, and perhaps no Nigeria without ECOWAS.
Indeed.
So yes, so the reality is that what happens in Mali will sooner than later have serious reverberations even in Nigeria here too. In fact, it had some in the not too distant past. So the fact remains this: ECOWAS, Mali is boiling. There's a president who has had only 2 years out of a 5-year second term, and yet people have said he must go. There are very serious implications to what is happening in Mali.
Okay, let's cross over to our resource person, Paul Ejime. Mr. Ejime is an international affairs expert. Thank you very much for making time for us, Mr. Ejime.
Thank you, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Yori Folani alongside Cyril Abaku here. Give us an overview of the situation and why, how important is Nigeria in this effort?
Okay, well, if you permit me, please let me also express our sincere condolences to the families of the flying officer, Temitope, that died, and then the 5 aid workers that also lost their lives, their families. It's painful
Indeed.
that these things are happening. One of them is related to what we're talking about, which is the aid workers, kidnapping and now their deaths. Mali has been boiling. It's not today. It's been on, and since independence, because the northern part of that country is seeking their own autonomy. That has not, the French people that colonized them did not grant that. Today, the Tuaregs in the north are still looking for that independence, and then the jihadists. And because of the instability in the north there, the place has become a breeding ground for all manner of lawlessness, elements, terrorists, jihadists. And remember that it's in the Sahel, where, for instance, I remember that the death of Gaddafi also led to that place has become a failed, more or less a failed state. And where you have a space that is not, that lacks government or governance, that is what happens. And the scenario is that we live in a globalizing and digital world where what affects one will have impact on the others. And that is the reason Nigeria is going. You now know that we have said that this terrorism is transnational problem. It's not, just one country. And you cannot legislate it away. You can't even build any wall to keep terrorists from coming to your place. What it requires now is collective international action, strategic action that will involve so many countries. In this case, ECOWAS of 15 member countries. They are now sending, initially they sent former President Jonathan, who came back on Sunday to brief President Buhari, who has now joined 4 other colleagues from Niger, Ghana, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal to go to Mali to try and quench this fire. Because if they don't try to do it, it has ramifications across the region.
I was going to ask, Mr. Ejime, thank you for that overview. What is the potential for resolution? In other words, how intractable a situation is it? And really, what is the potential of them reaching a desired resolution there? Because some conflicts, as you know, are so difficult, and is this one of those, or is the probability high that we can reach some useful negotiations and conclusion?
But I wish that, I hope you are not trying to make me a prophet to predict what is going to happen. But I will try by saying that what is required is sincerity on the parts of everybody that is involved. Both ECOWAS. Okay, let's start with the Malians themselves. They have to be honest to themselves to know that if they don't pull it together, nobody will do it for them. It is their problem. They carry the greatest responsibility to keep their country in order. And if they don't do so, what will happen if there is war? The implication, devastation, losses of life, and displacement of people. So you find people all across the region. That is one implication. Then the other is for the region as a whole, that it will become, there is insecurity, there is instability, there is uncertainty across, and you can't talk about economic development where there is no peace. That is the other thing that is the reason ECOWAS, AU, in fact, AU has a mission, a representative in Mali. The UN has, MINUSMA, about between 11,000 and 13,000 peacekeepers all over there. And the French, they also have, when you are talking about the intractability of the problem. So it's been on from 2012 when there was a coup that removed the former president, Amadou Touré. And then, ECOWAS and the international community came in. Mm-hmm. That was why the present government was able to take power in 2018, promising to end this insecurity. He has not been able to do it.
Yeah. Okay,
and then the terrorism, the rebellion is also separatist movement is also continuing.
So if I just may, Mr. Paul, I was going to ask, what we have at the moment is a call for for the president of Mali to resign over, the election outcomes some months ago or so. Do you agree with the fact that for there to be peace in Mali, the president must resign, or that the recommendations of the Jonathan Committee should fly? On which do you stand?
Okay, let me try to lay down the, former President Jonathan recommended a national unity government, and then, the reconstitution or recomposition of the Constitutional Court, which the sitting government has used to get some seats in Parliament from the March election. And opposition, they are against that. They think it's badly skewed against them. So what do I make of it? The opposition is saying they want Mali, they want President Keita out, and that that he has had enough. He's not performed. But we must be careful here. He was elected, and if you now begin to give in to this kind of demand, where is democracy? If somebody who's been elected...
Let me interrupt you there, Mr. Ejime. Let me interrupt you there, Mr. Ejime, but please stay with us. We'll be right back. We've got to go to a commercial break. Please stay with us.
Next is the Executive Governor of Kogi State, His Excellency Governor Yahaya Bello.
Flying Officer Tolulope. It is Tolulope. What's going on? May her soul rest in program now. We were speaking with Mr. Paul Ejime, international affairs expert. We were talking about the president's...
Honorable Minister of Women Affairs, Dame Pauline Talen.
We're back in studio now. Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Ejime, for staying with us. Before we had to go on break, you were making the point of democracy being what it is. He's an elected president, and so one is to take great caution in giving in to certain sentiments, and that probably is also complicating. I wonder if that was where you were going to land, how to go in this situation here.
Exactly, and it's so complex. A number of things could happen if the mediation fails, and we hope it doesn't. We could see what happened in the Gambia, and then where else in Burkina Faso, where people power, managed to get leaders overthrown. Blaise Compaoré and Yahya Jammeh. This is one area, but the cases are different. Another scenario could be that the opposition could be, persuaded to join the national unity government that former President Jonathan has proposed. But in all cases, in all these scenarios, it might not last. Well, you were asking me to tell you what will happen. I'm trying to... And the point is the sustainability of peace there, or what will endure, is being able to address the root causes. What gave rise to this? One is that agitation in the north, which has spread to the south, and then the disaffection within the country. There is accusation of corruption, and governance has to take into account the welfare of the citizens, the security of citizens and their welfare. And when it fails on this account, that is when you begin to have problems, not just in Mali, but everywhere. Not, even one of the leaders of the five that are now mediating, Alassane Ouattara, has problem in his country, problem of leadership. Over there, the prime minister suddenly died, the vice president resigned, and there is issue of whether he will go for a third term or will not go because of the amendment to the constitution in 2016. Anyway, let's not digress. But I'm telling you that this is all over the place. Yeah. Even here in Nigeria, where there are issues. How is the government also tackling insecurity, terrorism? Is it herdsmen? Is it, Boko Haram and all that? So these are governance issues that challenges that developing countries face. Yeah. And they are better, if they are not well managed, they can go out of hand, and then you have chaos and then instability. And West Africa is not very good, has not acquitted itself creditably when it comes to having, but meanwhile, you will say that all the 15 countries are now having one form of democratic government or another. But it is still work in progress.
Indeed.
It is, in West Africa, in Africa as a whole. So that is the situation.
I think we're going to have to leave it there, Mr. Paul Ejime. I think we're going to have to leave it there. And indeed, our deep appreciation for helping us understand the context and indeed the fact that their work is really cut out for them. But perhaps we should say our work, as Africans generally, is really cut out for us in resolving this whole matter. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Ejime, international affairs expert. Okay, we have, we really have to get on at a nifty pace. The funeral is ongoing of Flying Officer Tolulokpe Arotile. The funeral that's ongoing in there, she's been interred. Reefs, you can see between when we were there last and now, many reefs. The nation is really bleeding following this loss. As we were saying before, a a fighter pilot, never minded kind, but she was more valuable because she was so young and, she was just beginning her life, and she's an asset to Nigeria, to her parents, to the Air Force, indeed, to the youth of the country who really, she was a shining example, and then this had to happen. There's a sense in which we say God knows our best. Okay, we got to find out in Ekiti now, in Akure, that is Ondo. Okay, we're still getting some audio underneath there. We don't need that audio anymore. The audio underneath there, we don't need that anymore. Okay, so we're crossing over now to Ondo, where our man Ayo Subakun, hopefully, should be standing by. We understand that, well, Ayo hasn't been able to make it here, but the result is known, right, in Ondo.
Iyitayo Jegede, SAN, has emerged the governorship candidate of the PDP.
So what happened to the deputy governor that got the tickets? So much sacrifices were made. And
defected from the APC to the PDP.
That defected from APC to the PDP.
And sentimentally, what people would have thought that it could have been a fait accompli.
Because he arrived at a great price to the PDP. So one would have thought that maybe because of how much had been expended. But this is the thing with politics. Ayo was saying it. If we get Ayo Zubakun, he'll probably refer to the line that, no, really, you can't take things for granted in this particular
Perhaps
race.
Two key factors, quickly. The fact that he wasn't a governor, perhaps, otherwise we could have seen the example that happened in Edo State. And the other one, perhaps, again, on the fact that our parties are maybe just beginning to realize the importance of internal democracy. So it meant that people went to, what was it called? Is it the Dove Center in Akure?
Mm-hmm.
And the votes of party members counted. And so even if you are coming in as a governor, as a vice president, as president, you have to be on the queue and allow
exactly
the
point that PDP people made. Say Cabo, but we have our arrangements here. Yeah, exactly. And so you have to, as it were,
I mean, you could also see it in the case of the Edo State example, where even if we saw that people were being persuaded to shoot their swords, Governor Basiki, eventually it was a matter of Governor Basiki versus the invalid votes, and then he won. So there should always be a process and procedure that produces people. Candidates shouldn't be imposed on parties. We should grow beyond that.
Well, but there wasn't an imposition attempt in this case.
No, we are just saying. Because we could have thought that, I mean, hey, he's a deputy governor, give it to him like that. But everybody has to be on the queue.
Okay, let's quickly, as our time is counting down real fast. Good morning, Mr. George, you got in.
Okay, good morning.
Thank you for calling, good morning.
Am I permitted to comment on the first topic?
Go ahead.
The issue of Boko Haram killing aid workers. Was it this week or last week, he brought in a commentator, a retired Air Commodore, who said, soldier goes, soldier comes.
A retired group captain.
When he was confronted with the fact that some soldiers are being demoralized and resigning.
Yes.
If you don't address issues like that and issues about corruption in the military, how won't we have things like this happening? I find it difficult, Uncle Yori, I find it difficult to believe that this is the same Boko Haram that the Chadian soldiers used 12 hours to deal with, and they were begging.
We don't understand it.
I don't understand. Right. Is it not the same Boko Haram people? In the past, I wasn't supporting change of service chiefs.
Yes.
I think it has become inevitable now to try other hands.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. George. Time is at a premium is why. Maybe we can squeeze in just maybe about one more call. Well, the president is listening, even if not him directly, his people are always listening. And so they're hearing it because they've heard it before and they know what the people are saying, but they also have their point of view that they are putting across. We have to really wrap up now and just as it were, end up back at Torulokwe Arotile's funeral that's going on at the moment. That's our program. Thank you very much for being with us. Cyril Abaku and I say, do your best to please stay safe. Bye-bye for now.